is that it's been an awesome pump. And you can see the breakout when it occurred. You take this high, which was the FTX beginning collapse high. You connect it to that secondary high, and you could see when the breakout occurred right here. This one candle right here checked back to that line, and then off to the races it went. And now the key is this, right? Is we've had this beautiful move up on Bitcoin, but look at where it stalled out, right at that FTX high. And remember that, the FTX high represents a psychological hurdle for the market, and meaning that this was where a lot of people were buying Bitcoin over here, thinking, oh, it was finally bottoming. We were going sideways for a long period of time, and then the rug got pulled out from underneath them. And so the reason why this pivot high is such a key resistance level is because when individual investors lose a chunk of their account very, very quickly, when they get back to break even, there's this tendency to say, okay, my account is back to where it was. Let me sell. Right? So that's essentially what you have going on here, is that all these people over here are now break even, and they're saying, okay, let me sell and exit the position. And so that creates that resistance line. In addition, it's a psychological level. We all know that this is where the fraud came to light on FTX, where the debacle kind of occurred. And so if price could get above there, that would be impressive, right? That would be a psychological break point. But as long as we stay below this in the near term, I think you have to be a little bit measured in your approach to how bullish you are. In addition, I mean, I go on Twitter, I see the insanity. I mean, you wouldn't believe the amount of people that are just pumping relentlessly, as if you'd think, if I just looked at Twitter, I'd be like, oh, Bitcoin must be at 65,000 already, right? Because of how crazy the move has been. And so if you put it in perspective, look at the move we're talking about, right? Look at that little bit of a move right there. So again, I'm all for price action, and volatility is what I live off of, right? I can make money in moves to the upside and downside. I just can't make money when the market does nothing. And we've been in that long period where it was doing nothing. So now we're getting some opportunities. Now I have looked at I've put out some trade signals short. We shorted Solana, Ethereum right up in this range. I haven't done Bitcoin yet. I still have a long position in Bitcoin that I'm holding just in case it breaks out. But ultimately, I do believe that we should pull back here in the next week or so. Yeah, I'm in the camp that it's an expected bear market rally, and I can't wait for the day where I can go all out bull on Bitcoin and say, okay, now we're finally made a bottom. But, a couple things concern me. Number one, I've never seen a bear market end with this much hype out of a small move to the upside, right? So again, we showed that big picture about the type of move. Usually when bear markets end, people on the they're like, wait a minute, I don't trust this because I've been burned so many times. In addition, it's very common, and I showed this, let me show my my Tesla chart here, but it's very common in bear markets for the market to have, or that individual stock to have, pretty significant moves to the upside. So let me see if I can do this here, a price range, right? So if you look at Tesla, right, from peak to trough right here, that's a 48% move. And look at price after that. It still collapsed to the downside. So, there's this term in the stock market, and now it applies to crypto and commodities, everything. It's called, in bear markets, you get these rip your face off rallies. Like, they're so intense that they lure people into believing that the bear market is over, only to dash their dreams and push it to new lows. And so I'm kind of in that camp where, to me, at this stage, it's about, about a 35% rally off of the lows, give or take. Yep. So far, to me, we haven't taken off the FTX high. We're still in a phase of Fed tightening, right? They haven't even gone to neutral yet. And so I have to at least err on the side of caution and more sell into the rallies versus buying here for a bigger move. Yeah, so I definitely, listen, the cheaper it gets, the more I can buy, right? So I'm not opposed to it coming back in. So yeah, if I had to hope for one direction, I would like for it to come back in just so I could buy more, frankly, as I am a huge long-term bull. So yeah, I think that would be the ideal scenario. I think that, we have to also look at, in terms of a potential bottom, keep in mind that Bitcoin's previous bear markets have all gone down more than this one. And so you also have to say, wait, this is the first bear market where the Fed's not printing money and they're actually tightening. yet it doesn't make sense for the bear market in Bitcoin to only be down 70% versus the 80 to 85 normally it goes down. And maybe adoption has helped. But
Hmm.
again, you just have to, for me as a very logical robotic trader, it gives me pause, right? And again, one of the biggest things, and I know you tell that you guys this, is that you can't let emotion cloud your judgment. As much as I want Bitcoin to go to $1 million or wherever it is, you have to look at it in this very even like pros and cons list and see what makes sense. And then that's the way you kind of position yourself. And again, by no means does that mean I don't have any long Bitcoin. I have long
Hmm.
on Bitcoin. I just don't have as much as I want when I think the bottom is finally in. Yeah, and I think one of the things to kind of keep in mind for investors too is like think about the reverse of what happened in 2021. And if I show my chart here, right? So I don't know, where's my chart there, if it's coming up or not. There we go.
There it is.
All right. So what we can see here on the chart, right, is that over here in 2021, we had kind of the inverse of maybe what's happening. You had this big sell off, then you had this big pop, and then you had the bear market start. So I wonder if it's possible that this is the inverse of it. So that was an M pattern. What if
Hmm.
this is a W and then you have that one final flush to kind of catch everyone off guard, and then you have the so again, it's the same kind of thing as where here everyone started to get really bearish on the charts and then it flushed all of them out. Here you're having everyone getting bullish. The question is, does it have that kind of W pattern formation to it? And again, time will tell, right? I mean, that's the crazy thing
Right.
about it. We don't know for sure until it actually happens.
Yeah,
And
I
you're
think.
right. I mean, and what's so interesting about this scenario is you have people that are saying, "Hey, we're going down much, much lower," and then you have the other side that's like, "No, the bottom's in," and it's pretty like both sides are pretty large, right? So
Hmm.
one side is going to be wrong, and it's going to be interesting to see which one. And I think that's important for people to understand is that like there's points where like if we get above the FTX high pivot and we start to consolidate and make a bull flag, then
Hmm.
I read the bull flag and I know the support level, and then I buy the bull flag for a move up. Now, maybe I'm not in it for a long period of time. Maybe I'm only in it for 20% gain, but there's always trades. It doesn't matter. Like the most important thing, a good investor and trader is neither a bull nor a bear. You just take advantage of whichever side has the higher probability. Yeah, I do think it will be one piece of the puzzle, right? So, I mean,
Hmm.
the beautiful thing about it is I view over the next 24, well, more so 12 months or just beyond, which takes us to the halving, is that you're going to have multiple pieces of the puzzle fall into place. Number one, you're going to get regulation, and regulation will breed transparency, which will then convince big money that it's safe again after FTX to get back involved. And that's money that you need to drive up price. Then you take into account, okay, now you have transparency in a sector, it's getting more credibility because I think regulation, weirdly enough, brings about kind of this realization that if the government's regulating it, then they say that it's a legitimate type of investment, right? So that
Hmm.
brings back that side of it. Then you take the halving into account, and yeah, these are all things that together should bring about that bull market. So I do think it's coming back, and I actually think that the next bull market will be probably the longest bull, and maybe percentage wise, maybe not, because when it was, when Bitcoin was a buck or two, obviously percentage wise, but I think that this next bull market can really shoot it way above 100,000 because I think the transparency will then bring about, big money investment coming into it. It is a mix of things, and the one thing I would just say is like when too many, and this goes for highs and lows on Bitcoin too, right? So if too many people believe that having will create the next mega run, then it probably won't. So I think we just have to be kind of aware of that, and it's not to say that it won't help Bitcoin and everything like that, but it does concern me as well. Is that when everyone's like, "Oh, the next bull market will happen on this date because of the halving," that's like that makes me real nervous. Like the market has a funny way of proving the majority wrong in these scenarios, and we saw it at the highs on Bitcoin when Bitcoin was
Hmm.
69,000. The majority, I mean, like 95% of people were like, Bitcoin's going to 100K, and of course it goes to 20 or sub 20 instead. So just be careful. Like it's the same thing in stocks investing. Is like when everyone's saying like this event is going to be a huge deal and it's going to create this move, chances are it's going to be the opposite move.